Hello everyone, welcome back to the session of English. In this session, we are going to continue with our chapter Connectors. Now, this is part number 5. So, first of all, let us see that what we are going to discuss in this session. So, in this lecture, we will cover the following topics. Now, you can see over here, as you know well, that previously we started contradictory conjunctions. So, in this session as well, we are going to discuss, or you can say, we are going to continue with those contradictory conjunctions. So, here we have some more contradictory conjunctions that we are going to discuss. So, in this lecture, we will cover the following topics. First of all, we'll discuss the but. But is actually a contradictory conjunction. Now, if you see this word but plays two roles. It can be used as a preposition as well as a conjunction. But here we are going to discuss it as a connector, which is contradictory conjunction. However, this is also a contradictory conjunction. However is also an adverb. Nevertheless, yet, so all these contradictory conjunctions we are going to discuss over here one by one with various concepts, rules associated with these and examples of the following connectors. Okay. So first of all, we'll discuss the connector but. Okay. So our first connector that we are going to discuss is but. So we will discuss this but in detail over here. First of all, let us discuss the meaning of but. Now, of course, you must be knowing this word but. For example, you must have known about this word but, or you must have heard this word many a times. In fact, you must have used this word in your conversations as well. Whenever we show any contradiction, it means when we say something and in the next clause or in the another clause or in the second clause we contradict what we are saying, or we show some exception to what we have already said. That is shown by the word but, or that is represented by the connector but. But used as a conjunction in a sentence typically serves to introduce a contrast or an exception. Now this one is very, very important. It basically shows the exception to what has just been said. Okay. Now when we have to mark something which is exceptional or which is something odd one out from a series, we use but to show that particular exception. Now, if we talk about this word but, it can be used in both the manners. It can be a conjunction as well as a preposition. Okay, it can be a conjunction as well as a preposition. Now, one most important thing about but is that now here we are going to discuss but as a conjunction. Whenever we use but as a conjunction, it shows contradiction. Okay, and if you see it as a conjunction, of course, it is followed by nominative case of pronoun. Okay, we know well that there are few cases of pronoun, that is nominative case, objective case, possessive case, and so on. But in case of personal pronouns, if I want to use any personal pronoun after but, I have to use nominative case if it is serving as the conjunction, or but as the conjunction. But if it has been used as the preposition, we can use objective case after but. But that is another case that I will discuss later on with you all with a few examples when we will be discussing but as a preposition too. Okay, here we are going to discuss but as a conjunction. It often connects two clauses. So the main and the important function of but is to connect two clauses where the second clause presents a contrasting idea or exception or contradiction to the first clause. It means whatever has been mentioned in the first clause, it should be contradicted by the second clause, and in between these we use the word but. The most important fact is that but can be placed in the middle of the sentence only. However, if we are using it in the beginning of the sentence, there is implied that something has been said previous to it. Okay, well, what will be the structure, that we'll discuss later on. So for example, now let us see an example over here. I wanted to attend the party, but I was too tired. Now here is in this clause, This is the first clause and this is the second clause. Now obviously this but is a coordinating conjunction. As I told you previously, that conjunction can be of two types. It can be either a single conjunction or a pair conjunction, and in single conjunction it is either coordinating or subordinating. So basically this but is a coordinating conjunction. And what is the concept of coordinating conjunction? That it joins two sentences which are of equal rank. It means sentences which are complete in itself or complete in themselves. Okay, so but is a coordinating conjunction. This is the most important fact about but. So whenever we join two sentences, they are of equal rank. It means they are both the sentences are complete in themselves. For example, if I say I wanted to attend the party, of course it is the complete sentence in which the author or the speaker, he is showing his desire to attend the party. But I was too tired. On the other hand, he shows his state of mind or his condition that he was too tired. That is why maybe possible he did not attend the party just because of this situation. Though he was keen to attend the party, it was his desire to attend the party. But his physical health or his state of body or his state of mind did not allow him to do so. Okay. In the above, okay, this one is in the above. I'm sorry for this. This is above. Above example, but introduces a contrast between the speaker's desire to attend the party and the fact that they were too tired to do so. It is not they were, it is he was. That he was too tired to do so. Okay, so there is some printing error. Well, let it be. I wanted to attend the party, but I was too tired. It simply shows that it was his desire to attend the party, but because of his state, because he was too tired, he did not do so. So these two sentences, which are complete in themselves, are connected with the word but, which is showing the contradiction between the two statements. Okay, I hope you understood this concept. Now, uses of but. First of all, to show contrast, it is most commonly used to introduce a statement that contrasts with the statement preceding it. It means whatever the statement is there, after but we have such a statement which is contrasting the previous one, or you can say which is just opposite, or the information given in that particular that statement or that clause is just opposite to what has been previously mentioned. For example, I wanted to go to the concert, but I had to work. So I had to work shows that because he had some work to do, he could not go to the concert. So it was his desire to go to the concert, but I had to work. It means the speaker, he had to work. That is why he was unable to go to the concert. Okay, so here the contradiction can be seen easily. Now let us move to the next one, that is exception. Obviously it shows exception, but can indicate an exception. Exception means something which is not according to the group, to what has been previously said. Everyone enjoyed the movie, but Alex thought it was too long. It means it was Alex who did not like movie. Okay, so everyone enjoyed the movie except Alex. So this sentence can be written in this form as well. So here but shows the exception, that Alex was the person who did not like it. He thought it was too long. So everyone enjoyed the movie except Alex. So this is actually the meaning of this sentence. Okay, so here we have used but to show that Alex was not interested in that. Okay, or he did not like the movie. Third one, surprise or unpredictability. Sometimes but is used to introduce a statement that is surprising or unexpected in the context of the previous statement. For example, the task seemed simple, but it took hours to complete. Now you can see simply over here, the task seemed simple, though the task was looking like or appeared to be simple, but it took hours to complete. It means if the task was simple, obviously it should have been completed or you can say if the task had appeared simple, it should have been completed in the less hours or in less time, but it took hours to complete. It means though it looked simple, but it was not. Okay, so but shows the contradiction or this unpredictability which could not be expected. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Refutation or correction. It can refute or correct a statement that was made earlier. So whenever we write something and that we feel is not correct, but can be used to rectify the statement. How? You might think this math problem is unsolvable, but there is actually a straightforward solution. Now, by using but, we are saying that there is alternate, or there is some alternative, there's some alternate way by which it can be easily solved. So you might think this math problem is unsolvable, but there is actually a straightforward solution. It means whatever has been said, the another statement, you can say, which began with the conjunction but, it changes the opinion of opinion of one's thought. Okay, qualification. But is used to qualify or modify. Modify means change a statement, often softening the impact of what is being said. For example, the car is old, but it is still very reliable. Now, we are just criticizing a car, that the car is old. But on the other hand, using this but statement, we are showing the importance of that particular being old. Okay, after negative constructions, following a negative construction but can be used to add information that is less negative or more positive. She does not speak much, but when she does, her words are thoughtful. Now, here, but plays a very strong or important role. How? Whenever we show something negative about someone, but negates that negative statement, or you can say this but makes that negative into positive. How? It shows that this negativeness also serve something good. For example, if I say she does not speak much, yeah, this is some drawback about her. But when she does, it means whenever she speaks, her words are thoughtful. Her words are thoughtful, it means whatever she does, though that is a negative point, but whenever she does that, she is excellent. Okay, so this is how something negative has been converted into positive of her. Structure of but. This structure is generally, first of all, we'll have clause 1, then but, and then clause 2. So but can be only in the middle of the sentence, not the beginning. Clause 1, a statement or idea. After that but, which indicates the contrast, and clause 2, a contrasting or contradictory statement or the idea. It means these two statements which is written in clause 1 and clause 2, they should be different from each other. Example, I like apples, but my friend prefers oranges. So this is one statement, this is one clause, and after that we have but, and after that we have another clause. In the another clause, the two cannot be stated similar. Commas with but. A comma is used before but when connecting two independent clauses. She is talented, comma, but she is very modest. So these are the two qualities of a person which can be indicated by the comma. Rules associated with but, contrast or opposition. But is used to introduce a clause that contrasts with or opposes the clause before it. For example, he is old, but he's still alive, still active. Okay, so he's old, but he's still. So he's old, but he's still active. So though he's old, but it means if someone is old, obviously we cannot expect of him that he will be active. But yes, he's still active. So so here something has been contrasted or made opposite statement. So here we are using this conjunction but. Now, independent clauses, when but connects two independent clauses, each could stand as a separate sentence. As I told you that but is a coordinating conjunction. So obviously it connects two such sentences which are independent sentences or which are complete in themselves. Place a comma before but. Example, I wanted to leave early, comma, but the meeting ran late. It was his desire to leave early, but the meeting it was running late, or it continued up to a long time. Therefore, he could not go there. Okay, so but it shows, as you can see, that these are two different clauses which have been joined up using but. We have placed a comma after the first statement. No comma with dependent clauses. If but connects an independent clause and a dependent clause which cannot stand alone, do not use a comma. Example, I would go with you but have another appointment. Now here we can see independent clauses as well as dependent clause together. So here we cannot use comma. Avoid double negatives. Now this is something very important which satisfies the meaning of but. When using but to contrast the negative statement, avoid using another negative term in the following clause to prevent a double negative. Incorrect. What can be the incorrect sentence? She didn't go to the party, but she didn't stay home either. She didn't go to the party, but she went to the library instead. So here some another place has been stated, whereas in this sentence here both the statements which are similar to each other, they have shown in a juxtaposition, which should not be done using but, because their contrast should be seen. Examples of but: contrast in preferences or opinions. I enjoy classical music, but my friend loves rock. He prefers working in silence, but she works best with background noise. So here we can see the contradictions, or the contrast, or the choices. Contrast in actions or situations. They plan to travel abroad, but the pandemic changed their plans. I tried to call you, but your phone was switched off. It means I was trying to do this, but this had happened. Okay, so there is the contradiction which can be shown within the actions. Contrasting expectations. Everyone expected him to win, but he came in the second place. The forecast predicted sunshine, but it ended up raining all day. So here contrasting expectations can be seen. Highlighting a positive and negative situation. The train was delayed, but it gave me time to read. His phone broke, but luckily he had insurance. So something negative has been shown, but here with the statement but, that negative has been converted into some positiveness. Contrast in descriptions. The dessert looked unappealing, but it tasted delicious. Dessert means something sweet. This computer is old, but it is still very fast. So some negativeness has been converted into positive using but. Surprising or unexpected outcome. She practiced for weeks, but she forgot the words during her performance. They seemed like the perfect couple, but they announced their separation. Refuting a previous statement. You think this game is easy, but it is quite challenging. It appears fragile, but it is actually very durable. In spite of a situation, the weather was terrible, but we had great time at the beach. He had a fever, but he insisted on going to work. Starting a sentence. But how did you solve the puzzle so quickly? So informal. These are informal sentence where but can start the sentence, but this is only informal way of speaking. But isn't that the same as the last year's model? So but can be used in the beginning of the sentence, but only while speaking. This is something informal. Following a negative statement. He does not speak much, but when he does, everyone listens to him. Okay, she isn't very tall, but she is an excellent basketball player, so listens to him. Meaning of however. Now we'll discuss however. We have already learnt but, now it is time to discuss however. Now we'll discuss however, that is meaning of however. However, used as a conjunction, in a sentence serves as a similar purpose to but. Now, however, can also be used as but. It means whatever the meaning of but is same as the meaning of however. It introduces a contrast or contradiction. However, unlike but, however, often indicates a stronger or more formal contrast and is usually used at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence with a semicolon or a comma preceding it. For example, but for contrast, I wanted to buy the car, but I did not have enough money. However, for contrast, I wanted to buy the car, now semicolon. However, I did have enough money. I didn't have enough money. It means I did not have enough money. So, however, serve the same meaning as that of but here the usage of comma is required. However, if we talk about competitive exams, their punctuation errors do not work. Uses of however, introducing a contrast or exception. Similar to but, it is used to introduce a statement that contrasts with the previous one. The day was sunny, however, the forecast predicted rain. Okay, the day was sunny, however, the forecast predicted rain. It shows that the prediction that has been made by forecast team, it was something negative as the day it was, indicating a shift thought or contrast in ideas. It can signal a change in the direction or thought in an argument or discussion. For example, he is often considered strict, however, his students appreciate his fairness. So, he is always considered strict, however, it means there is some exception about him, that his students appreciate his fairness. Okay. Now, emphasizing a contradictory point, however, is often used to emphasize a point that is surprising or unexpected in light of the preceding statement. Uh, for example, the project seemed doomed to fail, however, it turned out to be a huge success. However, means contrary, it had happened. Formal or academic writing. It is commonly used in formal or academic writing to introduce a nuanced or complex contrast. The theory was several merits, however, the theory has several merits, however, its practical applications are limited. Starting a new sentence for emphasis, while but is commonly used as within the sentence, however, can start a new sentence to follow our semicolon for added emphasis on the contrast. So we can use but to show the emphasis on the however only. Emphasis on the contrast. For example, he promised to attend the meeting, however, he did not show up. Structure of however, mid sentence, it means it can be in the middle of the sentence. Structure, main clause plus semicolon plus however plus comma plus contrasting clause. Example, she is qualified for the job, however, she lacks experience in this field. Beginning of a new sentence. Structure, main clause plus period plus however, comma, contrasting sentence. Example, the weather was terrible, however, the event was still a success. Within a sentence, less common structure, part of the main clause plus comma, however, comma, rest of the main clause. Example, the car is old, however, it is still very reliable. Okay. Rules associated with however. Punctuation. When however is used to connect two independent clauses in a sentence, it should be preceded by a semicolon. Semicolon means a dot and then comma, and followed by a comma. Example, the team was ready to play. Then a semicolon. However, the game was postponed. Okay, so the team was ready to play. However, it means there was a contradiction that the game was postponed. Okay. Starting a new sentence, however, can begin a new sentence to introduce a contrasting idea. It should be followed by a comma in the case. The forecast called for rain. However, the day was sunny and clear. Avoiding misplacement, however, should not be placed between the subject and the verb or in the middle of a verb phrase, and this can lead to awkward or incorrect sentence structure. Incorrect. Now, what can be the incorrect sentence? She, however, went to the store. Correct. She went to the store, however, she forgot to buy milk. Not a coordinating conjunction, unlike but, however, is not a coordinating conjunction. Okay, but was the coordinating conjunction, but however is not a coordinating conjunction. Conjunction, so it can be also be used to join two clauses only with a comma. Proper punctuation like a semicolon, period, or dash is necessary. Incorrect. She was tired, however, she finished her work. Correct sentence. She was tired, however, she finished her work. So these can be the two possibilities. Now, not starting a clause in the middle of the sentence. When, however, is used in the middle of the sentence, it should not start a new clause. Instead, it acts more like an interrupter, should be surrounded by commas. For example, the recipe, however, was more complicated than she expected. Examples of however: I wanted to go to the movies, however, I did not have enough money. She's she's a talented musician, however, she struggles with stage fright. The weather forecast predicted rain, however, the sun is shining brightly today. The company has been successful in the past, however, recent financial troubles have raised concerns. I'm tired, however, I'll push through and finish this project tonight. The restaurant had excellent reviews, however, our dining experience was disappointing. The new policy may seem strict, however, it is necessary to maintain a safe working environment. He studied diligently for the exam, however, he still don't achieve the desired score. The product is expensive, however, its quality justifies the cost. She loves to travel, however, she has never been outside of her home country. Meaning of nevertheless. Now we'll discuss nevertheless. Now we'll discuss connector nevertheless. Now this is single word nevertheless, but this is a single word, that is nevertheless. Now what is the meaning of nevertheless? Nevertheless is a transitional word. First of all, it introduces a contrast or concession in a sentence. It indicates that despite a previous statement or situation, the following information presents an opposing or contrasting idea. It shows that the subsequent point is still true or relevant despite what was mentioned before. It is similar in meaning to however, nonetheless, or but still. First of all, we'll discuss uses of nevertheless. Nevertheless is a conjunction used in sentences to indicate a contrast or counterpoint to what has been previously stated. Contradicting an exception. It is used to introduce a statement that contrasts with something that might lead to a different exception, or you can say expectation. The hike was difficult and tiring. Nevertheless, we reached the summit and enjoyed the view. When we use the word in spite of and despite, this word nevertheless serves same meaning as that of despite and in spite of. Okay. The hike was difficult and tiring. Now here something has been shown about hike, that it was difficult and tiring. Nevertheless, it means yet we reached the summit and enjoyed the view. It means this hike, that the challenge was difficult and tiring, it did not affect this situation or our determination to reach the summit. It means the top of the mountain and enjoyed the view. Maintaining a point despite adverse circumstances. It shows that the point being made still stands despite contrary evidence or arguments. For example, his arguments were compelling. Nevertheless, they failed to convince the skeptical audience. Okay, so his arguments were compelling. It means whatever he was saying were convincing. Nevertheless, they failed to convince the skeptical audience. So, nevertheless contradicts the two statements which are given. Introducing a surprising or unforeseen outcome, nevertheless, can be used to present an outcome that is somewhat unexpected, uh, given the previous concept. For example, the weather forecast was bleak. Nevertheless, we had a sunny day. Formal and emphatic contrast, often found in more formal and academic writing, nevertheless provides a strong and emphatic contrast to a previous statement. It means whatever had been said, it emphasizes that a statement with something contrast. Okay, for example, the study had some limitations. So the study had some limitations. In fact, in this sentence, this first clause, here we are showing some drawbacks of a study. Nevertheless, its findings are important. And by using nevertheless, we contradict this statement that its findings are important. Therefore, this nevertheless should be used to show the contradictions. Reaffirming a position after acknowledging a argument. When acknowledging a counter argument or concession, nevertheless reaffirms the original position or argument. For example, there are some drawbacks to this method. Nevertheless, it remains the most effective approach available. Now, structure of nevertheless, separate sentences. First of all, the sentences should be separate to each other. Structure, main clause plus period, that is full stop, and nevertheless, then comma, contrasting statement. For example, the weather forecast predicted rain, full stop. Nevertheless, we experienced a sunny day. Okay, so after that we have nevertheless, then comma, then the another statement which contradicts the previous statement. Within a single sentence, structure, independent clause or semicolon, that is full stop and then comma, nevertheless plus comma, independent contrasting clause. For example, the task was challenging. Nevertheless, they completed it on time. So there are two situations joined by the word nevertheless, and these two statements are contradictory to each other. Beginning of a new clause. Now dependent clause plus comma plus nevertheless comma independent clause. It means in this you have to use nevertheless in the beginning of the sentence. Example, although it was late, nevertheless they decided to start the project. Okay, nevertheless they decided to start the project although it was late. Okay, so we can write this sentence in this manner as well. Rules associated with nevertheless. Introducing a contrasting idea. Nevertheless is used to introduce a statement that contrasts with or counters the previous statement. For example, the weather was terrible. Nevertheless, the event was a success. Punctuation. When nevertheless connects two independent clauses within a single sentence, it should be preceded by a semicolon and followed by a comma. Okay. For example, he was very tired. Nevertheless, he decided to continue working. When starting a new sentence with nevertheless, use a period before and use comma after. For example, she knew the risks. Nevertheless, she decided to invest. Okay, so despite of knowing about risks, she was ready to invest. So this is something where we can use the word nevertheless to show two contradictions. Okay. Now, position in a sentence. Of course, nevertheless can start a sentence, be used in the middle of the sentence with proper punctuation, or follow a dependent clause or introduce an independent clause. For example, despite the difficulty, nevertheless they managed to complete the project. Avoiding misplacement. Ensure that nevertheless is not awkwardly placed within a clause where it disrupts the sentence flow. Incorrect. Now what can be the incorrect sentence? She was nevertheless going to the store. For correct, she was going to the store. Nevertheless, she was feeling unwell. Okay, so there we have used the word nevertheless. Not a coordinating conjunction. Unlike coordinating conjunctions like and or, but nevertheless cannot just be used with a comma to connect clauses. It requires a semicolon or a period of proper separation of clauses. Okay. Incorrect. He had a headache. Nevertheless, he watched the movie. So in spite of having this headache, he watched the movie. So this is the contradictions that can be shown over here. So this is how we use the word nevertheless. He had a headache, nevertheless he watched the movie. So nevertheless shows that it went on. Examples of nevertheless: the road was blocked due to the construction, nevertheless we arrived on time. The task seemed impossible at first, nevertheless they managed to complete it successfully. It was raining heavily, nevertheless the outdoor ceremony continued as planned. The evidence against him was strong, nevertheless the jury found him not guilty. The experiment had several limitations, nevertheless its results were groundbreaking. There were doubts about feasibility of the project, nevertheless the team proceeded with their plan. Despite the challenges, nevertheless they achieved their goal. Although it was late, nevertheless they had decided to start the work. She felt unprepared for the presentation, nevertheless she delivered an excellent speech. He was unfair with the topic, nevertheless his presentation was very well received. The weather forecast was unfavorable, nevertheless the picnic was a success. Okay, so when something adverse has been shown and in the another statement something good has been shown, so these two contradictions can also be connected with the word but. Nevertheless they were starved that day, nevertheless they managed to serve all customers efficiently. Meaning of yet. Now we'll discuss the meaning of yet. Now we'll discuss meaning of yet. Now yet is another conjunction which is very important. Actually this word can serve as conjunction as well as adverb. So this can be adverb of time or this can be a conjunction as well. Okay, so here we'll discuss this yet as a conjunction. When yet is used as a conjunction, it introduces a contrast or surprising element in relation to preceding clause. Now we have already learnt although and though. I told you that although and though can be paired with the word yet to make a you can say to show the contradiction between the two statements. It functions similarity to but, linking two statements in a way that highlights how the second statement is unexpected or counterintuitive considering the first. Uses of yet: contrast or opposition. Again, yet is used to show that the second part of the sentence is surprising or unexpected in the light of the first part. For example, he is a novice chess player. Novice means inexperienced, okay, who does not have experience. Yet yet he won the tournament. Okay, so he was novice, it means he was not experienced, yet he won the tournament. So yet shows the contradiction of the expectation. Introducing a contrasting idea similar to but, yet links two contrasting ideas or statements, often where the second statement defies the expectation set by the first. For example, the task seemed impossible, yet it was completed on time. Okay, the task seemed impossible, yet it means even then it was completed on time. Emphasizing a counterpoint, it can emphasize a counterpoint or contradiction to the preceding clause. For example, she felt unprepared for the exam, yet she scored the highest in her class. So this emphasis that she felt unprepared is till then or even then she scored highest in her class. Conveying resilience or determination, often used to express resilience and determination or defiance in the face of challenges. They were outnumbered in the competition, yet they emerged victorious. Structure of yet: clause 1, then yet, then clause 2. Clause 1, this is usually an independent clause that sets up an expectation or presents a situation. After that we have yet, serves as the conjunction introducing a contrast or unexpected turn. Now clause 2, this is another independent clause that contrasts with or defies the expectation set by the first clause. For examples, the evidence was against him, yet he was not found guilty. In this sentence, the evidence was against him is the first clause, and he was found guilty. He was found not guilty is the second clause. Yet introduces the surprising or contradictory outcome or a statement. She had little time to prepare, yet her presentation was a success. Here, she had little time to prepare sets an expectation that the outcome might not be positive, yet her presentation was a success. Contrast this exception. Commas with yet. When yet is used to connect two independent clauses, it is often but not always preceded by a comma. Example with a comma, it was raining, comma, yet they decided to continue for the picnic. Example without a comma, especially if clauses are short. It rained yet stopped soon. Rules associated with yet. First of all, contrasting statements. Use yet to introduce a clause that presents a contrast or an unexpected turn in relation to the previous clause. For example, the job was challenging, yet he found it rewarding. So, though the job was challenging, still he found that it was good and rewarding. Independent clauses. Yet typically connects two independent clauses, each capable of standing as a separate sentence. She was tired, yet she continued to study. Comma usage. When yet joins two independent clauses, it is often preceded by a comma, especially if the clauses are long or complex. He trained hard for the marathon, yet he didn't win. Okay, so he trained hard for the marathon, yet. So here we can see his training, that it was really hard, or the training was done really with the hard work. Still, we can see that he didn't win. So this is showing the contradiction of his training. No comma with short clauses. If the clauses are short and closely related, the comma before yet can sometimes be omitted. It rained yet cleared up quickly. So here we need not write comma, or we need not mention comma. Examples of yet. The test was hard, yet everyone passed. It was a small effort, yet it made a big difference. He had all the evidence against him, yet he maintained his innocence. She felt unwell, yet she decided to go to work. The journey was perilous, yet the explorers remained undeterred. The critics were harsh, yet the play received a standing ovation. So these were all the connectors that we have discussed in this session. I hope you have understood all the connectors. In the next session, we'll continue discussing the connectors. So this is all for today. Thanks to you.